Hello and welcome to this crocheted purse tutorial. For our tutorial we will be using yarn from A.C. Moore. Their brand is Studio Samples by Nicole. This is a size 6 chunky weight yarn. It does not specify it on the label, but each skein has about 20 yards. I've purchased 4 for this particular purse for today. We will be using a pair of scissors, a size 10.5 or a K hook, a tapestry needle, a pen, and some paper. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you to please leave a long tail. This tail will be used to sewing our sides. So before we place our slip knot into our yarn, I suggest leaving about an 18-inch tail and then going ahead and placing a slip knot in your yarn. And now we are ready to begin our tutorial. Let's start by chaining 29. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and pause the video, and when you get to 29, we'll start again. After we have our chain of 29, we're going to skip the first chain. We do not count the loop that's on our hook. So skip our first chain, and in the second one, place a single crochet. You will only pick up that one loop of that chain. And then for the rest of our row, place one single crochet till you get to the end. You should have 28 single crochets. If during the adding of the single crochets to your chain and it starts to curl any, just go ahead and stretch it out. It will lay flat. Okay? So we're at the end. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. The whole thing of this will be done in the back loops of our stitches. So if you look at our stitches, we have the V right here. We want to place our stitches in the back loops here. And these will consist of single crochets. So let's place our hook into our first loop. We're going to draw up a loop and finish our single crochet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you get to 13, stop. So after completing 13 in the back loops, our next 2 stitches, we're going to be placing 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So there's 1, 2, and in the next stitch, 1 and 2. This will cause an increase. We have 13 stitches left. Go ahead and do the 13 stitches till you get to the end of the row, and I'll meet you there. Make sure to pause your video. As you can see, right here we have a slight curve. At the end, we're going to chain one and turn our work. For this row, you're going to catch on with a pattern that I'm going to show you. We're going to place our first single crochet in the first stitch. There's 1, 2, 3. What you're going to want to do is you're going to do 14 and then stop, and I will meet you there. After completing the 14, in the next 2 stitches, we're going to place 2 single crochets. Here's 1, 2 in the first stitch, 1, 2 in the second stitch, and the rest of our row we will have 14 single crochets. And what I meant by, could you see the pattern? The first row that we did our increase on, we had 13, and then we did 2 of the increase. This row we're doing 14, and we're doing 2 of the increase. The next row we will do 15, and then 2 of the increase. That's why I said you can start to see a pattern here, where when we fold this, you'll see how it's going to start coming at a diagonal. So after our 2 increases here, go ahead and do 14 till you get to here, to the end. Chain 1, and you can start your 15, or you can wait for me, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. By now, you can see an obvious chevron shape taking place to create the slant that we need. So at the end of the row, we're going to chain 1 and then turn our work. I was reviewing the label because I noticed that in the description of the yarn, it does not have a size. This is a chunky size 6 yarn, so I wanted to let you know. This makes a nice thick and heavier feel, but with the bigger hook it doesn't feel so tight. It should be kind of loose. Okay, so on this row we're going to do 15 back loop single crochets, and then we'll do the 2 increases. So I'm sure you're probably catching on here about the increasing and the size, the number of stitches that we'll be using per row. Okay, how many do I have so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go ahead until you get to 15, and I'll meet you there. So after the 15, we have 2 increases, which means 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And then 15 down the other side. Okay, now I'm going to make a suggestion. My suggestion is to go ahead and take a piece of paper. Here we got 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, we've done 14 and 15. After you do the increases all the way up to 24 stitches, you got the 2 increases, and once you complete that row, I'll meet you there. Okay, so go ahead and write it down and then check it after you've done each one so you know how many to put in there, and this will help you along. So once you get here, I'll meet you there. Go ahead and pause your video. It'll take a little while. After completing the rows that takes you up to where you have 24 and then our increase, this is what you should have. Remember that we will be folding it in half, and our tail here will be used to sew up the side. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do just straight single crochet in the back loop, as like we've been doing for 2 rows. After the first row of just straight single crochet, you will notice that it will start to cup up. This is okay. Continue with your second row of just straight single crochet in the back loop only. At the end of completing your second straight row of single crochet, let's go back to our paper, and what we're going to do is start at the top. You have 24, 23, 22, 21, all the way down to 14. What we're going to do now is we're going to start to decrease. So, like we did here, we did 24 stitches, and then we had 2 that were increase. So here we're going to do 24 stitches and then have 2 that will decrease. Okay, so go ahead and do 24 single crochets, and when you get there, stop, and I'll show you how to do 2 decrease. After completing the 24, here we have our stitches up here. What we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook and draw up a loop. And into the next stitch, we're going to insert our hook and draw up a loop. So we have 3 loops on our hook, one for our increase that we had, and our second one for our increase. Well, to decrease them, we're going to just yarn over and pull through all 3. We're going to do that one more time. We're going to place our hook right into that stitch. We're going to pull up a loop, and we're going to go to the second one. Yarn over and pull through all 3 on the loop. And that made our 2 decreases. And then on this side, we will go down and do our 24 single crochet in each back loop. You'll notice that as you go along, you can see how it's starting to pull in already. See how it has like a little cupping look to it? Okay, so when you get down to this other side, it'll probably be curled in way down here. But the idea is that we're going to fold it in half, and you can see already how it has, and it's starting to go back this way. Okay, so continue doing that. If you need reference, come on back to this part of the video, but I don't think you will. I think you'll be fine. On your next row, you'll be doing 23 single crochets and then the 2 decreases. Okay, keep doing that until you get down to number 14. Oops, let me show you on my paper here. Number 14, like we did when we first started. We had started out with 14. So we need to end with 14. And then we will do 1 row of the 28 single crochet. I have completed the 14 single crochets, the 2 decreases, and the 14. You notice how it has such a nice little fold to it. Kind of looks like an arrow, huh? I think it looks cool. I like the stripe yarn that I chose. I still have the 1 row where I need to do just straight single crochet like we did at the very first row. Oh, my last one came undone. So make sure that you do that 1 last row of just plain single crochets. Make sure you have the 28 stitches like we had when we first started. And when you get to the end here, I'll show you what next to do. Alright, I've completed my last straight single crochet row. So what you need to do is you need a tail, because we're going to sew up this end here. So probably about 18 inches. Go ahead and cut a little tail. Oh, this is my 4th ball, and this is how much is left. We still have more crocheting to do, and I believe I will have enough. Those little skeins, these little skeins cost me $1 a piece at AC Moore. I guess because they're considered samples, I really like their yarn. Okay, so pull the yarn through that last loop and tighten it up. And okay, now I'm going to use my yarn needle. Now this has a large eye on it, so you want to take the yarn, come up from behind, and pinch it. And then with that fold, work your yarn through. Because if you take this, the cut end, it'll fray and snag, and you don't want that. And see how simple that was to load your yarn? Okay, so we're going to take this end here, and since we're at the very top, let's go to the very first stitch here. We'll just pick up 1. And I'm going to do like a whip stitch. So I'm going to go to the next stitch on both of them. And you don't want to do 1, 1, 1, and then pull. Pull the yarn all the way to the end, and then here's the 3rd stitch, and the 4th one. Okay, keep going until you get down here to the end, and I'll show you how to finish that. Okay, after you've gotten to the last one, and go around it one more time. Okay, and then we're going to come up over a row, and we're going to weave in the center of the single crochets. So go down about 5 of them. And then go over 1 and go back the other direction. And then go over 1. and then pull it through. This will help eliminate any knots. Okay, so we want to do what we did here on the other side, and you notice that we've already have our tail because when we started we left a long one. So go ahead and do that for the other side, and I'll show you how to finish the top here. So this is the shape that you should have. You'll notice that we have our little weavings on the outside. So we're going to turn it inside out. So grab down at the point and flip our little guy inside out, and here we'll have more defined corners and angles. And hey, it looks the same, doesn't it? Alright, so our next thing that we're going to do is we're going to crochet along the top right here, and we're going to bring it in just a tiny bit. I hope you like what you're seeing on your bag. I love this thing. I think it might even make a nice little fanny pack, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so let's get our hook and put a slip knot on it, and we'll get ready here. Now for this, when we put our slip knot on, we don't need a very long tail, just something very small, and we can go over it so we don't have to weave it in. Now I am going to start at a side that we did sew in, and I'm going to place a standing single crochet. Okay, and I'm going to bring my tail around. So the next stitch that I'm going to be placing in, you see this line right here? I'm going to go right behind there and place a single crochet. And then I'm going to skip over this. Okay. The idea is to kind of pull it in just a little. So we're going to place one right here. Okay, we're going to go over this one. We're going to place one right here in front again. Now if you feel in the long run after you do this that it's too tight, you can add more single crochet stitches as we go around, but I'm just trying to bring it in some. So go here. Okay, so I'm skipping over the line and pulling it in, and then I'm also getting my tail at the same time. So you can see how it is going to pull it in. It's going to make it so it's not as wide as it is now, but it'll keep it from stretching out. So I'm skipping over this one here and the single crochet, and skipping over that one and single crochet. And here's where I join my yarn, but we're going to go over that and cover it right up. Okay, and continue on. Okay, you can see how it's pulled it in some. I like that look where it's bringing it in closer. This allows the lower half to expand more if you want it to. Okay, so I'm going to keep on going all the way around, and I'll meet you right here. Okay, I made it back to where I have my slip stitch, my standing single crochet from the first one. So what I'm going to do is, let me put one more in here. So I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to go around again. Now, depending on how much yarn I have left. I'm going to try and make 2 or 3 rows out of it. If you want to go higher, I highly recommend it. This bag does look nice when it has a band that's about 2 inches high. So I'm going to keep going around. Remember to slip stitch and chain 1, and I'll meet you at the end. So as I said before, I only had 4 skeins. I got 3 rows up, and I'm at my last stitch. I finished a single crochet, so I'm going to go ahead and make a stitch that looks like a stitch, and then I'm going to weave in what I have left on the inside. Okay, for handles, I have purchased some from a secondhand store, and I will show you what I have chosen in just a second here. Let me finish weaving this in. Okay, and I also had purchased some lapel pins. I purchased this bracelet that I thought was so pretty. It has little dragonflies and butterflies on it. So what I'm going to do is I will take some needle and thread, and I will attach it so that it will stay in place. And you can do this too. I purchased this at a secondhand store, or what is commonly known as a thrift shop. Goodwill, Salvation Army, DAV, which is the Disabled American Veterans, or any thrift shop usually has unwanted items by other people, and you're basically recycling. For the handle, I chose this gold mesh necklace. It is all in one piece, but in one area, let's see, where is it at? Right here. They had a few links missing. I paid $1 for it, so I will separate this right here because you can see where it has been separated at one time. And I guess I might need a pair of pliers for that. But I will take and open the loops, and I will put one on each end, and have a nice little handbag with this. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you choose not to use the same kind of yarn that I did, you can use a 4-ply worsted, you can use a solid, you can use pretty much anything that would help enhance your embellishments. So thank you so much for watching and joining me in another crochet tutorial. I hope to see you again sometime in the future, and till then, happy crocheting. Bye-bye.